Hello, and welcome back to In the Weeds, the show where we basically just talk about the drama that happens while working in restaurants.
Every story is completely true, but also 100% anonymous. But we like to keep it real here. If you've ever worked in a fast food place, a restaurant, or any customer service job, you know exactly the stories we're going to be talking about. Now, we've talked about first days, your classic customers, crazy coworkers, but today's episode, we're going to be talking about bosses.
Now, bosses make or break a job. I remember my first job, my boss, he would always be so on us just about everything we were doing. And on the busiest nights, he just gets he would get so worked up by himself that he would end up going up to the host stand and running the whole thing by himself while just not even doing any of his manager jobs. Now, don't do that if you're a manager. Just be a good boss and people will work well for you. But he would go up and he would do this thing where he would just seat the restaurant over and over and over again, which you're not supposed to do. You're supposed to have some breaks in between seating servers so that they can actually serve their tables. And he would just go up, seat a bunch of them on a random busy day, take over all of our jobs, and then just tell us to go do other stuff. And then he would go back to doing his whatever his manager duties were, and he would be like, "Well, we're in a rush right now. We're in the weeds. We need it. We need help. All the servers are freaking out." And all of us would be like, "You literally do this to us." He was so
Like a
just
micromanager.
yeah, he would just get so on top of everything that he would be like, "Well, this has to be done. We can seat you no matter what." And he's the type of boss who I've talked about before. Well, they'll just be like, you'll be like, "Oh, I told the customer this and this is our policy." And then the manager will go up to the customer and they'll be like, "I have no clue what they're talking about. That's not our policy. I can
Mhm.
do whatever for you because the customer's always right."
Customer's always right.
And that's just their philosophy. But then some good bosses, they'll actually go by the rules and they'll do everything correctly and actually support you. Or if you're in an argument with a customer, then they'll support you from the argument.
Yeah.
But most times, this kind of boss, he would go up and he'd be like, "She's crazy. It's her first day," or something,
How the
and
gaslighting.
it was awful, but he just, took control, and then all the servers hated us because they thought it was us that did it.
Was this when you were a busser?
This is when I was a host.
Ah, host.
Yeah, I basically just did everything in the restaurant. I didn't serve, and I wasn't legally allowed to be behind the bar, but I would help the bar, I would serve some bring out food, run, do
Yeah.
whatever, literally. I was there for so long.
That's the thing about the restaurants is I feel like no matter what, the hosts are always the one who get just flagged for everything.
Mhm,
But
yeah, you the servers, honestly, when I was a server, in different jobs, I had already had that host experience, and I feel like a lot of servers have the host experience
yeah,
first before they can be a server, so I don't understand where it comes from because you know what the reasoning is, you know that they can't do anything and that the hosts are trying to accommodate the
it's
guests.
just like a freshman to senior kind of thing. It's
Yeah,
even though you're always a freshman first, when you're a senior, it's just
you hate the freshmen,
you
that you
have
didn't
to.
understand why they hated you when you were a freshman.
No, but I get having stressed managers. I had a boss. We'll call him Carl.
Mhm.
I started working during COVID, so we all had masks
Yeah.
on, and so I never saw this dude's actual mouth, but he always just had the biggest raised eyebrows, just
Oh,
scowl
just
of all
stressed
time,
out,
and no matter what, it was imprinted on him, and I mean, no matter what happened, it'd be like,
like an
oh,
RBF kinda thing, or was it just, he would always have something going on?
mainly just RBF, but it was any little thing, oh, we have a lot people in the drive-through. He'd be like, "Oh no."
Oh, they take it way too
Yeah, he would
personally.
always just freak out over
I know.
everything, and I always he in his office had this collection of just different colored vapes that he had.
In the
I'm
manager's
in the
office?
manager's office. I'm talking neon pinks, light up ones.
Honestly, it's a huge thing in restaurants. All of the servers just share their, vapes or whatever, because 'cause
I
they're all
didn't
so
realize
stressed
it was
out.
that big.
Yeah, that's the first, going into that restaurant job, that I worked when I was, 14, that's when I learned so much from from the servers and stuff. It was I didn't know that people, vaped,
Yeah, no,
honestly.
he was the only boss that's a lie. He was one of the only few bosses that actually was they were. He just had a whole shrine of I mean, but got to do what you got to do to get through the day. But Our other bosses, they would sometimes just leave us, like, in the restaurant, and, like, so it'd be, like, just, like, like, 2 16-year-olds,
Yeah,
and they would just be like, "Oh, we're
you guys
going."
got it.
Yeah, and they would just, like, go, like, smoke, I think, cigarettes, and, like, for, like, 30 minutes, I'm like, "It does not take that long to smoke a cigarette."
That's like the chefs like, chefs will take, like, their cigarette breaks, like,
Mhm.
all the time, and then servers, we don't even, like, get, like, 5 minutes. We just have to, like, go into the bathroom, take a break.
Yeah, no, but it was, like, literally just, like, 2 kids, like, running the restaurant at that point, and I'm
I
like,
no, that was me. That was me at my cafe job. My boss there, he was just like I don't wanna speak bad about him, but he was like this old British man,
"Nice."
and it's like a family cafe. He was so funny all the time. Like, me and my friend, I made some really good friends at this job, but we would just be running, like, this cafe. It was a creperie. We would be running it since, like, 9 AM, maybe 6 AM on Saturdays or Fridays sometimes. We had, like, this our boss, this, like, British man, he was also, like, micromanaging, um, but he just, like, had no clue how the cafe was run other than, like, his, like, owning it,
Mm.
So he would come in, he would be like, "You alright?" He'd be like, "You alright today?" And just so, like, whatever, and then any day that we would get busy and stuff, he would try and come in and, like, help us make stuff, but he would just, like, mess it up the whole time.
Oh, no.
And I remember one time, me and my friend, we were working, and it was, like, it was supposed to be a super busy day, but, like, we had gotten started, and our manager for the day called out sick. So he was like, "Oh, I'll just come down and help you guys. We don't have to call anyone in." And we were like, "Oh, no." So then he comes down, he puts himself at, like, making the coffee, doing the register, and, like, making sure all the food is going out, and we were like, "Okay, like, that makes sense, like, we're
Yeah.
better at making the food." So we would make the food, he would be, like, rushing us and stuff, but he would have a long line of, like he just, like, had no clue how to work the register. It's this, like, iPad system.
Oh,
He
no.
had no clue how to work the register, always messing up the buttons. He had to keep calling, like, me up and be like, "Hey, like, how do you do this?" Or, like, "How do you do this?" And I'm like, "Oh," and it would just, like we had, like, 15 people in line. They would all just be like, "Who is this man? Like, who's this old man who's, like, getting trained or something?" And no, that was, like, the
That
owner and manager.
Wow, that is terrible.
Sometimes he would be so on our asses, and then he would be the problem.
He is
Because he, like, took so many orders, didn't know how to do all this stuff, and we'd be like, "Oh, we made this." He's like, "Oh, it's supposed to be this, but I put it in wrong, but I forgot to tell y'all, but I was also making coffee, but I was also doing this." And we're like, "Yeah, that's how the job works. Like, that's what we're doing day to day. Like, that is what we do when we come in here." And he's like, "Man, like, this is just so stressful, like, there's so much happening." We're like,
that's kind of the
"That's
job.
it."
It's kinda what we have to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it was funny, he was funny.
No, no, I get it, but, like, the stressed out bosses, the only time I ever saw, Carl, stressed out vape lord, the only time I've ever seen him happy was the day that they dropped the mask mandate in Ohio.
Oh.
I kid you not, he rips his mask off, and he just starts running across, like, the entire kitchen just, like, yelling, like, "Yeah!" And it was the greatest thing, like, this 50-year-old
So you saw
man.
his face?
Yeah, it did. So, yeah, I had to do some dramatic effect, okay, I had to lie there for a bit, but yes, I eventually saw his face. Still, like, he would, like, smile, but, like, the upper half of his face was just, like, always
Still
stressed.
stressed out.
Yeah, I'm like, this like, I think he just got so stressed in life that, like, he just, like he got, like, locked, like, he just couldn't get out of it.
The best manager I ever had was, a manager at the same place that I worked at for 2 years when I was 14, but she was just, like, a manager, not, like, the overall
Yeah.
manager that my other one was. She was so wonderful. Like, she would come in, and if we had, like, problems or whatever, she was always the kind of person who would be like, "Guys, it's just a job. Like, this can be done. Like, we have our systems in place to, like, do this and stuff." So anyone would get stressed out, and she would just, like, handle it. She was like if the best managers are always the people who are, like, they get their stuff done, and then they like, trust you to get your stuff done
Mhm.
too. And then if you don't, obviously, they talk to you, but, like, that is just, like, letting you do your job that you were trained for. But, like, honestly, that's not a lot to ask.
No, I mean, again, like, I had some awesome managers, like, I had one who we would just talk about, like, theater and stuff in different, like, musicals. I had one we talked about, like, video games,
It's the
like
people who actually treat you like you're
yeah,
human.
those are the best, it's like and if you mess up, it's like, it is what it is, and if they mess up, it is what it is
Yeah.
because 'cause we're people.
We're people, we make mistakes, and it's just a job, and at the end of the day, we're gonna get everything done.
Yeah, it's just another day, another dollar,
Mhm.
as my buddy says, but, the opposite of that would be, this one boss I had, I will say, very gracious, very nice, very giving. She would make cookies for the entire store. Though these were not regular cookies, she'd make edibles for the entire store, and like she would have them like on like a platter, like just in the middle of the restaurant.
Oh,
Which I respect it. Like that's so nice of you.
yeah.
Maybe not at
Maybe
work.
not put them in the restaurant for
Yeah,
people to just.
especially in a, not legal situation,
Oh, yeah.
but,
This was still in Ohio?
oh, yeah. Um, yeah, no, but, she would but that's how I had a couple bosses who they would, the cigarette breaks that I was talking about
Yeah.
earlier weren't exactly cigarette breaks, which is totally fine,
Yeah.
but, maybe don't leave 2 minors in a in a building to
Mhm.
run a store while you guys get high. So, that's a kind of like a little, general rule of thumb,
Yeah, maybe we're putting it just like a little rule guide for managers. If you're looking to be a manager at a restaurant or you're working at a restaurant, well, if you work at a restaurant, you definitely know what like you're gonna do as a manager. But if you ever want to get into a restaurant job or you want to like get into just any really boss job, managerial job,
Mhm.
is that how you say it? Managerial? I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever. But if you want to get into any of those kind of jobs, like where you have a lot of power, the best thing to do if you have employees under you is just treat them like they're human, treat them like they're people who applied for the job and like have regular lives and are also like intelligent. And do your job and also like be a manager by helping out other people when they need help. You know,
Yeah.
it's just a lot of the problems I've seen with a lot of the restaurants I've worked at is the managers will either be way too overbearing and they will like want everything done their way. Want like feel like everybody else is incompetent. You know, they'll go up there like, "What are you doing?" Like that's what I'm talking about. Like the guy who took over
Yeah.
at the host stand and stuff. He would do that. He would do other stuff too, but he just it's just the kind of like overbearing micromanaging thing. And then there's the kind of bosses who don't know what they're doing and they're just like, "Well, I don't know, like you guys got it, like whatever." There's a point where you have to like you can treat somebody like they're your friend when you're working with them, but
Yeah.
there's a point where you have to remember the line of like you're the boss and they're the employee. And if they come to you with a question, don't be like, "Oh, you should know this, like you got it. I'm sure you've got it." They're
Yeah.
asking you because they don't know. Because otherwise we would know because it's our job.
Also, maybe not the best idea to, you know just be like, "Hey, who wants weed?" Um,
Yeah, at a job where minors are working also.
yeah, not the best. But I mean, to be fair, like sometimes there'd be like miners working like sandwich machines, which is just not at like like the meat cutters, not
Yeah,
at
I've
all
done that
legal.
actually.
I
I had
mean,
to like I took a giant thing of frozen ham,
mhm,
thawed it out because in the cafe that I worked at, the creperie part, we had like the cooking place, the like actual cafe where people would go up and order, and then we would cook like our crepes and stuff there
yeah,
and like make our bowls or anything. And then we had the back kitchen where like all hell would break loose.
naturally.
Like just so many TikToks made back there, like everything. But there was a time we had like this giant meat cutter. It was like saw powered,
Oh yeah,
like I had this giant frozen piece of ham, just had to weigh it down,
mhm,
and I had my gloves on, but like I'm like over here 16 working hard machinery.
yeah, yeah. No, I think the biggest thing is for bosses is just maybe follow the law, just a little bit, and also remember like the relationship that I'm the boss. Like we can be like cool, we can
We
be
can be
cordial,
friendly.
but I'm not like your best friend or anything.
No, and
Like,
I'm don't like rant to me also. I've had my one of my bosses at a different restaurant. I don't think I've talked about this one yet, but she just kind of would like we would just like gossip, but like she would be the one gossiping and like telling me things about like other coworkers or like just about her like daily life and about her like health and stuff. And I'm like, "Okay, like
mhm,
I don't really need to know all of this because again, it's a job setting, it's like professional."
not
That's
now.
why I'm gonna rave again about that good boss that I had that was a little bit under the one that I worked for 2 years. She was just so like wonderful. Her and another manager, he I really liked, but there was like two of them and they were a little bit under our like GM, our general manager, and they were my favorite people. Like, they were so, like, human and, like, genuine, and they just were like, "Oh, like, you make a mistake, it's whatever, like, how's your day going?" Like, all this. But they also, when they had to, they came down on
Yeah.
people, which was, like, what was needed, and they told people to, like, get back to their job or to, do something, which is it's a job, so you have to
Yeah, no,
you have responsibilities, but you don't have a responsibility to make it your whole life and take over the whole thing.
that's the thing. It's just like sometimes it's like there's like some barriers you just don't want to cross,
Mhm.
But bosses are bosses,
Bosses. Yeah.
bosses.
They literally there's like, if you've worked in a restaurant at all, you know that, like, the types of bosses you can have, it varies so much. Like, you can meet someone and think, "Oh, this is gonna be the best boss of my life." Like, you can be in an interview and they could be like, "We're a family here. Like, I love everybody. I take care of my servers," like, all this stuff. Then they, like, take their tips. Oh, that's happened to me before. They've taken tips. They've just, like, not helped at all, whatever, or they've been, like, the best. So there's so much that can happen.
Oh,
But,
absolutely. Some bosses are really like strict and rigid. Like if you're even like taking a second like to like chill, they're like,
if you
"What are
have
you
time
doing?
to
What are you
lean, you
doing?"
have time to clean.
Yes, that's the I remember that one. Um, but then like some are like really cool. Like he just like my one boss who I love, the video game one.
Mhm.
He just would make us like stuff that's not even on the menu just for fun.
Oh,
The goat.
I loved doing that at the cafe, is that, like, whenever our managers or whatever, we would just have, like, a slow day, she'd just be like, "Alright, well, you guys can go on break," and whenever we went on break, we could make ourselves a meal or, like,
Mhm.
one thing of food, and me and my friend, we'd always make these, like, extravagant rice bowls or, like, really, really weird combinations of crepes or anything. It's just, like, it's
That's
so much fun when
awesome.
your, like, managers are actually like, "Okay, like, we have time, we have food, like, you guys, like, chill out for a second and, like, relax, like,
Yeah. Now I will say the cookie boss, the boss who would make the cookies.
edibles."
Yes, the edibles,
Mhm.
no dancing around it. She did she was the boss who let me make tacos at a sandwich place, so, therefore, I think it all evens out,
I mean, it does balance out, I
you
feel
know?
like. It's not even, like, a bad thing that she smoked, but
No,
or made
no,
those, but it's, like,
maybe
bad
not
decisions.
now,
Yeah.
but, like, again, nice gesture, I appreciate it,
Yeah.
but, maybe not now. But and then they would also do, like, pizza Fridays, which is a weird thing to do at, like, a food place, like, have pizza, but you know what? It was great.
It sounds fun,
It was good. It was
but,
great.
yeah, bosses can be good sometimes, bosses can be bad sometimes. Lots of stories for
Bad
it
boss, good boss.
sometimes.
Some madness and badness
Right.
combination.
Yeah.
All right.
Alright. Well, I think this has been a great episode.
I think it's been cool.
Thank you to Bearcast for helping us host this and for our first video
Yes.
podcast. We hope it's good. And as always, we will see you
Next
next
time.
Monday. All
Bye.
right.